Podcorn. This podcast is brought to you by MC2424A, IPRMSA, UITM, Malacca Chapter.
Hello everyone! Today we're back on this podcast where we talk about the current issues relating to the SDGs. I am your host Nurin and today's title is gonna called Ride or Die. What's that, you guys wonder? Well, before I explain any more further, I want to share some basic informations on SDG just so that you guys get the hang of what we're going to talk about later today. So SDG, or what stands for Sustainable Development Goals, is basically a set of 17 goals made by the United Nations for all countries and regions and are targeted to be achieved by 2030. And they cover all sorts of issues from poverty to environmental protection. And so, today, one of the SDGs that we're going to be talking about is Goal 11. Make cities and human settlement inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And we're going to be focusing on target 11.2, which is by 2030, they are going to provide access to safe, affordable, accessible, and sustainable transport system for all, improving road safety, notably by expanding public transport with special attention to the needs of those in vulnerable situations, women, children, persons with disabilities, and older persons. Just something for us to ponder on. 2030 is just 7 years to go. Will we ever get to achieve that? And that is why our topic for today is entitled Ride or Die. It will be about public transportation issues in Malaysia. But wait guys, today we have a very special guest. So this guest is the person that I see in my classes, a person I see in my rented house. And today, I have her here in my studio. Let's give it up for Sharifah Tika from Class 4A! Woo!
Hi! I'm Sharifah from her classmate, her table mate, and so on. I'm so glad to be invited for this podcast to share my experiences.
Well, there is actually a reason why I called you in today. So, today's topic is something that you're really knowledgeable in more than me, which is about public transport. I basically have a little to no experience compared to you. So, but you have so much more experience in public transportation. So, like, how much experience do you actually have?
Well, my experiences are like, since I'm living in KL, obviously my experience is a very years of experience, right, living there. And I am an avid public transport user. So should I explain my first time?
Like how was the first experience of you using public transport?
Well, the first experience wasn't like, it was a good one. But because it was my first time, my parents sent me to the LRT station.
So like you use your transportation to get to the public transportation.
So that part is a bit of a turn off for me. So, when I first started going outings, I had to think of ways to go out. So obviously I had to go through public transportation, and I started going out when I was the age of 15.
15, yeah, that's a good age actually.
Like not too old and not too young. And I was starting to independently go there alone. So when I got there at the LRT station, the first thing that I noticed was how I had to pay the payment method, right? At first, I didn't know how to pay using a card, and it took so long to buy the token from the machine. Yeah, and I had that difficulty because most of the machine were broken, and only one standing there. So yeah, not much people, the people that usually use public transportation wouldn't use the token method, but since it was the first time for me, I used the token. And after I used the token, I got on the LRT and went around KL Klanijaya line, going to KLCC and so on. It was quite a smooth ride because I went out at like 10 a.m, not during peak hours. But when I went back home, it was like a whole chaos because I didn't know that. I thought like public transport needs it seems to be like very easygoing, but like when during peak hours, I don't think public transport in Malaysia can handle that.
This is like too many people
Yes.
coming home
Yeah, too many people
from work.
So I advise from, like, I learned it the hard way. when you when you hit 5 p.m. to 8 p.m, just stay in the mall.
Yeah,
until 8.
just wait until everyone's gone.
Until everyone went back to their homes. Then only you take the public transportation to go home. Yeah, so
Wow.
that's one of the key takes from my experiences.
Okay, noted. Since you have that's like such a great experience, you have so many experience, and I'm pretty sure that you are aware of our public transport issues, but there are only like 3 main issues I want to focus on today, which is first regarding the lack of safety, the insufficient amount of transportation we have here in Malaysia, and the not so budget friendly cost of it. First, okay, let's take a look at the lack of safety. When we talk about the public transport safety, the first thing that came in my mind was the Kelana Jaya incident. And I don't know if you would find this shocking, but this is actually not the first time incidents like this happen in Malaysia's public
Really?
transport. There was even a website where they list out all the incidents, and it was a really long website. There has been like a train brake failure incident.
Oh my God.
There has been technical issues. There have been circuit break which caused power failure, and there are many more actually. And it's not just that. There are even the facilities are as bad.
Oh yeah,
And-
that is true.
Oh my god, have you ever felt that our transportation is lacking in terms of safety?
Oh my God, I feel like that part is the most crucial thing that I want to talk about today. Is the facilities.
It's that bad.
Yes, it is. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's very bad that you can't take the LRT, but it's just bad that it's not equitable for all. Yeah, it's not equally easy for all to take the public transportation. So first thing is the stairs. They have the stairs, and
Yeah.
they also have the escalator, but the escalator is not working usually.
What?
Yes, I don't know
And
why
you
they
have to-
build an escalator.
If you can't use it.
Yeah, if you can't use it, and they have the lift, but people don't risk of taking the lift because, again, it might break down. It might
You might get
in
stuck
there.
in
Yeah,
there.
so people don't want to risk that. So people had to take the stairs, and even I've seen myself in Bukit Bintang MRT, right, in Pavilion, where an old man was using a cane and he was trying to get down the stairs.
Oh my god.
It was a very steep stair, and you know how LRTs have like a lot of stairs, so it's hard for them to take the LRT
It's
as
gonna take a long time for them to get
it's
down.
take a long time, and then it's not easy. What if they fall
Yeah.
on the way? So I think escalators should be something that is always
Everyone can use.
everyone can use. But since Anthony Loke became the public transportation, it slowly became it went back working, especially in peak places like LCC.
Yeah.
That's very important. And other than that, it will be the lights, the issue.
Lights?
At night. It's so dark in some LRT places or KTM. And as a woman, I would be scared to go out
Yeah.
at night, right? And I've heard like incidents on Twitter where they have sexually harassed during their walk back home after they have at the LRT.
It was like so dark, so that people
Yeah.
took advantage of that.
Yes. And even the guards
Even the guards.
at the LRT took advantage. Like from my sister's friend, I had an incident, right, where the guard sexually harassed her when she was waiting at the bus stop for her Grab. Yeah. So I think that they should raise those issues. Yeah. And other things, it would be the pathway. Yeah, last but not least, the pathway. The pathway is very crooked. So I think
They have
should
like
fix it.
holes in
Yes,
it.
exactly. So maybe like normal people can trip over it. How about the disabled people? How about the old
Yeah.
people? So those are the things that are the facilities that can danger us.
So and that is in a developed country. Malaysia is a developed country,
Yes.
right? So I don't think that for a developed country, I don't think that this should even be an issue. But however, there's actually another issue to discuss on, which is the lack of public transport for other parts of Malaysia. And I think that this is undeniably true because you have so many experiences with public transport
Yes.
because you live in KL. And I have no experiences where I actually like have one experience my whole life. 20 years of my life, I only have one. Because
But that
I don't
was
live
still in KL.
Yeah, that was still in KL. And I don't have a lot of experiences because I don't live in KL.
Yeah.
And like it's in KL, it's like so easy for you to get from A to B. But here outside in KL, you can only rely on Grab or someone with their own car to drive you around to that place. And as a student, I feel like that is one of the reason why people want to study in KL more, which is due to the sufficiency of public transport. Like it's not
Exactly.
budget friendly for us
True.
because what student has the money to
Buy a car.
buy a car? Yeah.
Or own a car.
Oh yeah, it's so expensive. And of course, like public transport is like so convenient for them because
Eco-friendly too.
yeah, eco-friendly and at the same time budget friendly. But
Yeah.
with the lack of it, students like me have to opt for a not so budget friendly. And
You have to pay for the fuel.
yeah,
And the
speaking
energy.
for our experience, you have
Yeah.
to pay for the fuel, for the car, you have to pay for the car monthly, and it's not cheap.
Yes.
Because in our university, we don't have public transport, which is why we need a car,
Yeah.
and it's not cheap. And, talking about being budget friendly, there's also another issue where the lack of payment methods is like a big problem to transport users.
Very big.
Have you ever experienced this inconvenience due to this?
I have like how every
Like you've
time-
mentioned it before, right?
Yeah,
The token thing.
Yeah, the tokens where I use the tokens, but I didn't mention that the difficulty was I had to use cash. Cash only method. So when you reach there, it's like you're going back in time. Yeah, and they only accept specific notes. Very demanding. They just want. I gave them a 5 ringgit note because I was like still young, and I don't think I'm on that cashless society moment. And so in KL, being cashless is okay because
Yeah.
everywhere you go, you just pay using your card or wave or
Yeah.
and so on. So I thought that in LRT stations it would be the same. However, it's not. You have to pay with cash, and you have to pay 10 ringgit above. So how about the unfortunate people?
Well, what happens? Okay, let's say if you only have like 1 ringgit, the 1 ringgit notes, or like you only have 5 ringgit notes, then
Oh yeah, it happened once in KL.
it happens. What
Yeah.
did you do?
During peak hours, everyone was like lining up, and then when I was lining up, I realized that I took out my wallet and I was like, wait, I don't have cash with me. I don't have the specific ideal cash that they need. So I didn't have the 10 ringgit or the 20 ringgit, and so I had to borrow a stranger cash, and I had to transfer to that stranger.
Oh.
Well, thank you to whoever
Transfer
that
it online?
stranger is. Yes, transfer online to that stranger, and I got the 10 ringgit note that the person
That
gave.
is such a hassle. Like you have to go around beg people for
Yes.
10 ringgit.
Just to and because you know why I had to queue, because the machine that I wanted to fill in my money to top up my money was broken during peak hours, so we had to wait a long line. But then Anthony Loke came up with something a bright idea, I guess. He made an improvement to use a debit card.
Oh yeah, I heard about that too.
On the station, the LRT station, so that you don't have to top up or you don't have to use
Yeah,
cash
that's so
or
convenient.
tokens. It'll be faster and efficient. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well then that solves one problem for us. But what about the other issues that we mentioned before? Like the lack of public transport and the lack of safety. I feel like in terms of like lack of public transport, our government should opt for like more public transport in all parts of Malaysia, because not only that this is convenient, but as we also mentioned before, it's also environmentally friendly because people don't have to depend on their own transportation and you can just like ride together, kan? Right. So Sharifah, do you have like thoughts on the solutions for the sexual harassment part, since like you have friends who have experiences and all that?
Yeah, I think firstly, in terms of the public transport in LRTs or KTM, they should have they should add more lighting.
Yeah.
Is very important, especially at night when there's not many people, and women should feel safe to be in
Yeah.
public places. But right now it just feels that I wouldn't take the LRT at night. I will start to get scared when I go back home at night because I know that the lights are not there, and the pathways are crooked.
Yeah, and you might not see the way.
Yes,
to walk,
I can get hurt.
Yeah.
I can get hurt. I can get sexually harassed.
Oh my god! All because of a light.
Yeah, and at the same time, I can't rely on the guards there.
Yeah.
Because there are cases of the guards are sexually harassing the girls, the women there in public places.
You can't even rely on the guards.
Yes, so I think they should hire proper trained guards there so that these cases won't happen to us. Those are the smart solutions.
That's wow. I think that's a really great idea, because of course, as we all know, that public transport should be accessible and safe for all of us to use because it's public for a reason.
Yes.
Okay, so, well, that actually sums up all of our discussions for this podcast on the topic of ride or die.
Yes.
I hope that this opens up everyone's eyes on these issues and we can take precautions in the future regarding these issues. So, before we end our podcast, Sharifa, is there anything you'd like to say?
Well, I would like to say thank you for having me for this great sharing session in this podcast. I have did my trauma dumping, I did my awareness, I did my told my experiences, and made like a wake up call for the government to improve the transportation. Yeah, and also I would like to drop some promotion. Shameless plug. I want to say, check me out on my podcast. You can check out another YouTube playlist on the 6th SDG where I'll talk about water and women.
Love that.
Yes, and Nuri will be there too.
Yeah, so do check it out. I will be there, guys. So, is that all?
Yes, that's all.
Okay, so well, this is it for me and Sharifa. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.